St. Columkill walked this way before, not that far away are big traces of his passage through time. In one direction we have Kells, and the other Drumin. At Kells we have what remains of his monastic foundation, including one cell which could possibly date from his time. And right next to it is something very different. A very large, towering, modern communications mast, built no doubt for cell phones and all that goes with the currents of the air, full of dishes and whatnot. Architecturally perfect, blending even more perfectly with the harmony of the ages. But that irony in the air speaks to our time. Should one go into that cell, one would stand where stood sanctity, and where heaven and earth met in the simplicity of nakedness and nothingness, at last available to be filled. Now, if one goes there, one will gaze upwards and see not the clouds, but the emitter of bleeps, and all that goes with the bleep that invades the soul, demanding instant attention and keeping it focused on the immediate, damaging its interiority by multiplicity, which is the opposite of simplicity. In Greek, the root of simplicity is bent towards one, sumplex, and multiplicity is the exact opposite. The intensity of the interior being drained in multiple channels towards the exterior cannot rest. It is going outside itself, and one is not interior at all. And even the soul called to the simplicity of the contemplative life can actually find that wherever he is not there. It is more important to reply to the bleep that comes and halts the sound of silence and brings with it the world that not long ago he had left. When one comes into that simplicity, there is a simplification also of life on another level. One can fill one's spiritual life with a whole system which gives us a comfort zone, many prayers. But actually, one can miss the point. And one can be in a situation of creating even a system which outwardly may be very resistant, punctual and regular. But it can be obfuscating the actual essence, which is the new commandment. On this day, I am reminded of a moment in time when I missed that point and missed a grace for all time ever since. It was in 1986. Remember that on this day, the feast of St. Columkill, as a novice, I placed on Father Abbot's table at his end of the refectory a hymn just composed to his own patron saint. It was a present for his feast day, St. Columkill. He was Dom Columkill. And actually he wasn't there that day, but when he came back he was delighted and asked me to record it because he wanted to know how it went. And so I did. Alas, and I say alas, there is one thing I didn't realize in time. If one finds love, one finds all in the monastic life. If one finds a structure but without love, one finds an aquarium full of bad vibes in which the fish cannot navigate in peace. And so love is the essence, and it is important never to let anything cloud that essence or take away the mind from it. For in the end it is on that will be examined, in which also, by extension, fidelity to all that one is asked to do within love follows, because actually they're not contradictory. One respects others by loving them into being there where one is, and giving them also the respect and space which is their due. It is love badly lived to give oneself too much and invade. Going back to Dom Columkill, I look back over the years and I see how of all the superiors I had, he was without a doubt the most loving, and the one that actually the Lord was trying to give me to bring me safely through. It is important not to make decisions without consulting one's legitimate superior. Why? That superior has grace of state. And I notice one thing. When it comes to a superior, if his attention is towards his brethren, then he is living his life fully. If, no matter how charismatic he may be, his attention is outside his own community, doing good elsewhere, even to other communities, then the essence is going in the wrong direction and the community will suffer. I remember actually when I was in trouble at Selignac, by instinct writing to the Abbot of Roscrea, knowing that actually there was goodness there. That had been really my first move, and I was quite taken aback by the warmth of this letter which came back very quickly. Very different from other reactions which one had perhaps had here or there by letter. There was here somebody who cared enough to write a good, balanced letter. Now that should have been picked up. I was immature. Alas, questions of observance in my head had taken over. So, should there anyone be out there, I would say, if Providence leads you to an abbot who loves and cares, then don't look any further, because that abbot is the channel by which God will come and by which the Spirit will orientate. One has to be in contact with an abbot who cares enough to listen and to have plenty of time. And I recall how when eventually I was transferred from La Trappe actually to Roscrea, 1986, I was taken aback by the care that personally Dom Columkill took that was quite interesting. The large community that the abbot had all that time and attention for an individual. And even years afterwards, he was still in contact. He found one day here, and also wrote, and also sent me what I had asked for, the solemn salve of the Cistercians, because I use it ever since, here. And after that communication, I wrote this, moved by what I had not appreciated when I had it. Dear, dear Father Abbot, there is a goodness in this ancient land that I know well, and though in accent strange it reach the alien ear, the gentle hand and tongue that sends a word within its range of unexpected moving, moves much pain beyond baned memories' sight. For though a page be silent in its coming, markings plain at times mark hugely all, and blasted rage I see need ne'er have been, or wanderings none did own. I should have known before, long before, when first was seen the kindness of these eyes, that love alone is what the cloister means, and 'twas but this that need have been enough for simple bliss. Going back to 1986, alas, what was happening was that there was this temptation to do something, because I could see that Roscrea was a community that was aging, and there, in one's early 30s, one wanted to have something really buzzing and moving, and so there was this itch to perhaps do something in Wales, but of course it failed completely. Although perhaps it could have worked had there been more openness, perhaps, on the part of this or that one. Unfortunately, quite often, bishops are not willing to take risks. But anyway, the bottom line was that it was leading to getting involved with the charismatic renewal in a big way, but in the monastic setting in France, and trying to bring that back to Wales. Therefore, that's what actually happened. It didn't work, but it led to actually going from Roscrea when it could have been a safe haven. And I remember, in the end, going back calmly to Tom Columkill to explain what was on my heart, and therefore the conclusion would have been moving on. I remember after having that conversation with him, something in my heart fell, and I wrote this. But let it be a warning, don't leave a place where there is grace and goodness. It may not return. So this was on the 15th of June 1986, after the disclosure, that is, to the abbot. The echo oft hewn chasms neath a sigh, and what the mouth sounds not, the breast ill seals. The language of the heart that dares not cry, the unheld of what we are, its flow reveals. Oh, happiness that held me for a while, wilt thou too now betake thee to the past? Will these that here in gentleness still smile upon this oft blocked road now smile their last? Must I haul in this anchor once again, and drift so far away from what I am? The heart of man was made for unfelt pain, and he lives well that well hath walled this dam that holds the ocean of our sufferings, and keeps his sorrow for e'en sadder things.